Good morning, guys. I'm gonna do a little part 2 on my day 7 video. It's something that really popped into my head, and I feel pretty strongly about. So when it comes to judgment and why we judge people, why we judge things, how harshly we judge things, I was talking to my buddy from across the pond, Gavin. We've been watching the TV show The Witcher, for those of you who have heard of it. It's a new show on Netflix. And we were talking about you know whether or not we thought it was good, and we started discussing why sometimes when you're in a good mood and you're watching something, you're going to notice all the positive aspects of it, correct? You could watch the exact same episode of television, the exact same movie, be in the exact same situation, but if you're in a bad mood, if you're in a negative headspace, you'll find yourself judging everything. And I mean, it's so important to be aware of this. And I try to catch myself as much as possible. Obviously, it's not perfect, but when you find yourself watching something or being with someone and really critiquing them, like noticing every little thing that's wrong, all that is it's a reflection of what's going on in your own mind. Think of when you feel great, like when you have felt joyful, light, free, happy, many positive emotions. Are you looking at the world through eyes of judgment? I would be willing to bet that is absolutely not the case. When you feel that way, you are just appreciating everyone, and it's like everything seems to click, everything is great. You're seeing the world through the lens of peace and joy and love, and everything is fantastic. And even with this TV show example, you're watching a TV show and you might objectively be like, you know what, the writing's kind of poor, it's kind of cheesy, but I'm still going to appreciate it for what it is. On the flip side, if you are feeling very negative, either like anxious or depressed or just very overcome with heavy emotions, you're going to naturally view the world that way, right? So every situation you look at is going to seem difficult or anxiety-inducing, and you're going to notice all the negative aspects of something, especially like if it's a person too. That's why when people talk about loving someone, you can only love someone as much as you love yourself, because you're going to be a lot more accepting and appreciative of the other person if that's how you feel about yourself. So it's so trippy how our minds work, and whatever thought patterns and feelings and emotions we hold in our mind, that's what we reflect out into the world. And that's why it's so important to be aware of the lens you're seeing the world through, because you could easily make a permanent decision based on a temporary state. Without making this video too long, what comes to mind is, let's say you had a really good experience with a person, and you're like, oh my God, I'm in love with this person and we should get married. What if that situation was just colored by the fact that you were already in a good mood? I think it's so easy to tell ourselves that external situations create our emotions, but it's absolutely the other way around. So it's easy to attribute our entertainment or joy we get out of something based on the thing itself rather than how we feel. Like, back to the TV example, I mean, you can watch the same movie 3 weeks apart, and it could be a completely different movie because of the headspace you were in when you watched it. I've done that with like Game of Thrones, for instance. I rewatched it before this prior season, and I was in a much clearer headspace, and I was like, oh my God, this show is incredible. Because when you're present and engaged and have a relaxed, open vibe, you're going to notice the positive aspects of something. You're going to appreciate it much more. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Basically, become aware of your headspace when you're judging things, and see if you can notice what you're projecting onto whatever you're witnessing. It's so important. And if you can be aware of your judgment and then try to let that go and just see things as objectively as possible, it will be completely transformative. It'll allow you to go into situations you're afraid of and recognize that the fear you feel is just tinting your experience. You know, you're projecting your fear into that experience. You're assuming it's going to go poorly because you're afraid. And if you can clear that lens out and just look at it objectively, it's a completely different experience, right? So it's incredible how our minds work, how our consciousness works. And it's something that, like I mentioned in the previous video this morning, it needs to be checked in with, you know, especially in the morning, but even throughout the day. When you find yourself getting distracted or not present or overcome by emotions, you need to check in so that you can be aware of how you're tinting your view of the world with your emotions. So just some food for thought. It's absolutely transformative to be aware of that stuff. Meditation can be a great tool, but it's really something you can do in the moment by just being very consciously aware of what you're projecting out into your world that you see. So peace out, guys. It's just something I'm very passionate about, and I will talk to you later.